let's talk about the BAPS hammock, or yogic solutions for PP problems. So a study recently published by Obstetrics and Gynecology found that almost 50%, now that's half of all women, will at some point in their lives contend with urinary incontinence. Now this is regardless to whether they've given birth or not. People still don't talk about it. Women are uncomfortable talking about it and they think that they are the only person. So people get very embarrassed talking about urinary incontinence. However, it's only one aspect of pelvic floor dysfunction that we as women suffer from. And this umbrella term for, disorders of pelvic muscles, it's the case that all sorts of things could have happened. So the pelvic floor may have grown weak, it could have been hypotonic. Now this is usually due to some kind of overstretching that's happened in childbirth, or the muscles can be overly tight, hypertonic, and other conditions can result as well. So things like urinary frequency, urgency, interstitial cystitis, irritable bowel syndrome, painful intercourse, and lower back pain as well. Now these are the physical areas and conditions that we focus on with our Yoga Bellies BAPS practices. It's often hard to know exactly which condition is at the root of a pelvic floor disorder, and there really isn't any one-size-fits-all solution to this. But to strengthen your pelvic floor, you also need to be able to relax the pelvic floor, and that's not as easy as it sounds. So let me introduce you to the concept of the BAPS hammock. Now the best way to understand what's going on downstairs is to bring awareness to your pelvic floor, which many of us find is completely numb. Now there's 16 different muscles in the pelvic floor, but from a day-to-day functional standpoint, they're at their best when they're working together, so let's just think of them as a complete unit. So we're going to try an exercise now, and I want you to just visualize the muscles of your pelvic floor as a hammock that hangs from the four corners of your pelvis. All right, so can you feel both of the sitting bones? You can do this with your eyes closed. Can you feel the pubic bone in the front and the tailbone in the back? Just bring awareness to those areas. Now those 4 points define the perimeter of your pelvic floor space. This is the basis of the BAPS. And with this hammock, imagine in mind that now you can begin to breathe, to feel that hammock move with you in the breeze, okay? Now for you to breathe efficiently, the pelvic floor has to be involved, guys. Now it moves in a dance with your diaphragm, so when we're breathing in, the diaphragm moves down and so does the pelvic floor. And when we breathe out, they both move up together. So if you sit quietly and just observe your breath, you'll actually notice the natural widening outward and downward pressure on the inhalation and a natural lifting of the pelvic floor at the end of your exhalation. So just keep your eyes closed if you haven't already, and we're just going to do this now. So I want you to notice the natural widening outward and downward pressure on the inhale and the natural lifting of the pelvic floor at the end of the exhale. And once you've identified a rhythm, you can begin to accentuate each at the end of the breath cycle, okay? So the relaxing and engaging, and then relaxing and engaging until the pelvic floor muscles begin to feel familiar to you, and better yet, consciously available. This is what we're focusing on. I want you to think about the lifting, so imagining this light rising up from the pelvic floor up through the spine. Now gently open your eyes. And working the entire pelvic floor is just so much more fruitful and stable than some kind of quick, tight squeeze and release thing that we're doing that's just working in the sphincters. So, once we've come this far and we've got that awareness, what we can do is we can start to practice this off the yoga mat too. So we can be contracting and releasing the pelvic floor, when we're at the supermarket, we're driving the car. The goal, of course, is to be able to engage these muscles when you actually need them in real life scenarios. So if you think about, when you're playing tennis, you're getting up from a chair, you start laughing, you're sneezing, any activity that you might otherwise challenge your bladder control. So I hope this exercise and these tips have been useful, ladies, and join me again in my next BAPS video. Namaste.